On this episode of Impact Last, I had the privilege of interviewing Zyad Hatquai, the founder of Sustain&Trend. Zyad is a sustainability engineer with over 5 years of experience in the field, and his brand Sustain&Trend has become one of the most effective ESG education tools available. Our conversation explored the various forms that impact investment can take, including climate mitigation, adaptation, circularity, and other initiatives supported by a broader ecosystem of sustainability. We discussed the importance of rethinking sustainability in the context of consumption habits to drive systematic, balanced change. At the same time, we acknowledged the limits of consumer adaptability, emphasizing that businesses must reimagine their products and services to balance convenience with environmental and social considerations. One of the key insights from our discussion was that existing in bubbles poses a significant threat to sustainable progress. It stifles meaningful dialogue and collaboration, hindering collective action. Tune in to hear more from Zyad's insightful perspective on sustainability and how Sustain&Trend is helping businesses navigate the path towards a greener future. Let's dive in. Welcome to the webcast, Zyad. How are you today?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing great, actually. Well, start with thank you for this kind introduction and for inviting me to be the opening to your webcast. It's a pleasure to join the conversation, to set the stage for what I am sure that would be insightful webcast series. I'll definitely be tuning in. Well,
let's kick things off.
Yeah. Let's go.
Both our first time, and I'm really delighted to have you on the show, and I'm so grateful that you're helping me open up this webcast. I want you to share with us the story behind your brand, Sustain&Trend. But before we dive into that, I'd really like to kick off by asking you, what does impact investment mean to you?
Well, I'm sure we'll get into Sustain&Trend shortly, but before I even dive into what impact investment means to me, I would like to start with what sustainability itself means to me. Sustainability is about balancing three key dimensions: environmental, social, and economic. And it's not just limited to investments nor businesses. It applies to everything. So taking individuals, for example, we can make sustainable choices when shopping by considering environmental and or social impacts. Perhaps you choose to purchase product that have minimal packaging or from companies that are committed to ethical and labor practices. Well, that's a matter of preference or awareness, I would say. The building you live in might be considered more sustainable than other building, might utilize renewable energy or has efficient insulation, for example, that requires you less heat. If we consider businesses, any economic activity can be considered sustainable if we integrate environmental and social consideration into the operation and the decision-making process. Well, why I decide to start with the definition of sustainability or what sustainability means to me, I want to make sure that it is relatable, because sometimes people feel disconnected from the theory behind what sustainability is, and the reality of economy, how economy works, and how the transition to a sustainable planet look like. So making an example, myself going to the supermarket, I try to make conscious decision every time, try to avoid impulsive ones, and of course,
we all.
I consider environmental and social aspects, perhaps quality, different criteria based on my preference, based on the product. But there's always one major factor that everyone would consider, and that's finance. I don't want to end up broke. I guess you as well. I guess no one would. Does that mean I didn't make the sustainable or a sustainable decision? Well, perhaps we as a unit working toward a more sustainable planet can do a better job. And that's exactly where sustainability and ESG frameworks are all about. Well, that's where they come in. They try to make a systematic change that allow everyone to make a better decision and more sustainable one. And make this balance. Yeah, this balance isn't just by individual. I can give you example of businesses or governments making this kind of including different factors into the decision-making process. And this
Yeah,
brings
it's really interesting. Sorry to interrupt. It's interesting that I want to come back to the next point you're going to make in a minute, but you're not the first person I've spoken to who sort of starts thinking about sustainability as something that starts at home, that starts with the individual. I think a lot of people have overcomplicated it in their minds because it's just become a hot topic quite suddenly. And there's so many regulations and guidelines and information out there, and it all comes from government and or large corporate organizations. So I think people feel a little bit overwhelmed about it. But actually, we're going to talk a little bit about the history of sustainability and how that's changed over time in a moment. But you're completely right. And I totally agree that it starts at home and it's very basic and it's about choices. And I think actually for want of a better expression, not so much pressure, but the sort of leaning towards the trend and living through sustainable societies is going to come from individuals making choices, and those choices flowing up towards corporate organizations and then working with the government and public policy to try and implement it. Sorry, I interrupted you there, but I think it's a really good point and a really good observation that you've made.
Well, impact investment, well, we jumped from the definition of sustainability to impact investment, because I feel this is where we can close the gap and allow for more sustainable choices to be made easier with this to strike this balance. So investment in areas like climate mitigation, climate adaptation, circularity, well, you name it. We have lots of challenges. These investments are key to accelerate the major initiatives, such as the net zero transition, transitioning to a circular economy, and I guess that's how I see impact investment into the whole ecosystem of sustainability.
Yes, you touched on three headlines, if you like, that I want to pick up with you. The first one is sustainability and conscious choices starting at home. The second one is the need for balance. And the third one is all about the transition. And I suppose I've been thinking about this quite a lot. I suppose at some point, sustainability was, and not that long ago, an integral part of human life. Sustainability practices started at home, and apart from a few elite, if I can use that phrase, I think most people and even businesses lived, consumed, operated sustainably. What do you think sparked the catalyst for exorbitance? What do you see as the most problematic areas or practices that threaten the livelihood of our planet? And where do you see the greatest opportunities? I know I've packed about 3 questions all in one, but it's sort of thinking about choices that we make at home, the need for balance, and the aspiration to transition to a more sustainable ecosystem.
Well, yeah, I believe if we talk separate the 3 questions. If we talk about the catalyst, I believe the catalyst for the shift toward access is convenience. We've become accustomed to choosing the most convenient option, whether it's the quickest delivery date or the easiest to handle material or the simplest solution. For example, we choose plastic over glass because it's lighter, more durable, easier to move around. With the rapid advancement of technology in the past few decades, everything became faster, more efficient, and more accessible. However, the rapid advancement has also amplified the reliance on convenience, and that comes often in the expense of environmental and social considerations. Well, at the same time, progress in addressing environmental and social impacts hasn't kept the pace of the advancement. And yeah, that's majorly I can see the catalyst for that. And the next question was about the most problematic areas.
Yeah, where you think the sort of greater threats are, and turning that on its head, the most scope there is for opportunities.
Yeah, so if we talk about the most problematic areas, if our plan or existential threats,
Yes.
if I'm allowed to talk generally, honestly, I can see the issue of existing in bubbles. Our assumptions about the other, and that these assumptions are preventing us of having a meaningful dialogue and collaboration. However, if we focus on environmental challenges, I would say overconsumption stands out as a major threat, along with for sure climate change, and the dependency on fossil fuels. Speaking of greatest opportunities, I would say if I will go with one big idea, I would say utilizing efficient utilization of resources, whether it's energy or materials. If I have to name the top closest to my heart, I would say energy storage technologies, for sure, where we address the major issue with renewable energy, and the only way I can see it to transition to a net zero. One other part would be the end of life of batteries and materials in general. There's huge opportunities out there. And I would go with a third in the built environment, because we're in the built environment, we are tackling emissions in material use, in construction and urban infrastructure, which is a growing sector. And I guess these are, I've named all the challenges out there, but I mean, these have a significant opportunities out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, it just goes back to consumers having choices, and those choices now being viewed through a different lens, which at some point in time we forgot about because technology went so much faster than other considerations that instinctively would come into play in the past. And it's almost like we're taking a step back and starting to think about those again, and they are instinctive, and then innovation coming into play at the same time, looking at it a much bigger picture. It's not just obviously climate change is a huge issue, but it all links into to consumption at the same time, so we can't view those things separately, and I think that's a really important point. I want to talk a little bit about climate change. I think it would be wrong not to in the context of this conversation. I follow groups like Blue Ocean and Ocean Integrity, who work tirelessly to clean up plastic waste and harmful practices that impact biodiversity in our waters and on Earth. And I feel like our heads are so far up in the skies. Not many people talk about these other elements, which is sad, to be honest, because they do pose an immediate threat to our planet. And when you go online, you see institutional investors going after CEOs of oil and gas operators, and rightly so in many instances. But I don't see that much out there on organizations talking about the devastation of cobalt mining that's used to generate batteries for these green solar plants and electrical cars. And they shouldn't really be competing interests. For some reason, no one really talks about the collateral damage that's caused by certain green energy solutions. Have you seen sustainability frameworks out there being used in the green energy space? Do they take account of the entirety of the supply chain and life cycle of alternative energy solutions? And how do you make sure that renewable giants are not just, for want of a better expression, wolves in green clothing?
Well, I first of all, yes, sustainability or our environmental challenges, threats on our planet. It's not just sustainability isn't just one dimensional. Yeah, the environmental challenges are there. Yeah, and I guess what makes climate change special is that it applies to everyone, everywhere, every business, everything. It applies to the globe. When we talk about wastewater quality, it might be more of a regional or it's a location-based consideration. When we are talking about pollutants, specific toxin, that I feel what make climate change different. Plus, yeah, the message that is sent out there, the media behind it, the people are more aware. There's no one that isn't really aware of the challenges, the climate challenges. However, I completely understand where you are coming from, and I personally have my concerns when it comes to this circularity and the whole life cycle of renewables. And honestly speaking, it's really necessary to be optimistic and pragmatic, because there isn't a perfect solution out there. Yeah. Yes, we need to ensure that renewables and in general green claims, green offering are further investigated, but it's always the same challenge of balancing things. We need to strike a balance between building trust and making everyone accountable to the same standard. So what I believe is that renewables, and not only renewables, generally green technologies are really young, and it might take some time to reach the maturity and to provide a perfect solution. Let's put it this way. But I completely understand your concern as well. Yeah, there's a huge impact behind mining, behind the end of life, and that should be something work in progress, I would say.
Staying on the green energy solutions topic, and thank you for that insight. I think, again, it just goes back to balance and ensuring that we hold everyone accountable to the same standards, whatever, regardless of how you choose to tackle a particular issue. And I guess whatever you believe are the root causes of existential threat to our planet, there is such a strong emphasis, at least in the Western world, almost solely on GHGs. So every time I open up a LinkedIn or look at an investor website or read about ESG policies, you kind of just, the picture tells it all. You just see wind farms and quotes about the transition to net zero. What does net zero mean to you? Do you think our understanding of that means in reality will change over time? And what do you think will be the key challenges to achieving net zero? Again, I'm packing lots of questions all in one. Should we be aiming for net zero at all? And if not, what in your view would be an alternative, and again, more balanced and realistic approach towards this issue?
Yeah, well, yeah, to put it simple, what is net zero? Simply a concept that means we need to balance, again, always striking balance between what we emit and what we remove. Yeah. So essentially, whatever emissions we release into the atmosphere, we must offset by removing an equivalent amount of these emissions, either via natural or technological means. By reforestation or carbon capture, for example, is an example of a technological means to remove emissions. Well, while this is simple, achieving it is anything but. It requires a complete transformation of how we produce, how we consume, and how we live. Well, to address the question, should we aim for net zero? Absolutely. We always aim to reduce emissions at the source. And reducing means either less energy to be consumed or energy without emissions. And that's basically explain why we see renewable energies ads everywhere. That explains the fascination behind renewable energy because of the promise. But to be straightforward, if the solution is that straightforward, where's the problem then? Well, the energy without emission is kind of, as we just mentioned, it's mature, it's really young, and we need to be mature. There's enough gaps there that we need to fulfill, renewables are insufficient as we know it right now. And less energy, well, it's not that easy. Again, sustainability isn't one-dimensional. We need the balance. We've mentioned that what businesses produce, we consume. On the other hand, production means economic power and advancement as well. So we actually need to provide solutions. And again, I'll jump into innovation. So people have to adjust their lifestyle, but we can't expect people to go back to pre-internet or AI, or to go every time for inconvenience over convenience. Therefore, we need to reimagine the products, the services, the efficiencies. We need innovation there. Therefore, I say we need to step up the game and foster innovation, provide solutions that will help us keep the convenience, help organization provide value to us while making profit, and allow advancement while considering environmental and social aspects, which basically I can put it in 2 words: sustainable development. Sustainable development is development while considering environmental and social aspects. So I hope that answered the questions.
Absolutely, it does. And I feel like we kind of keep going back to a handful of themes that underpin and define what impact investment is all about. Consumption habits and making choices, looking at the bigger picture and ensuring that there's accountability throughout the value chain, the role of innovation in that, absolutely massive, and of course being realistic about what's achievable and allowing a space and time for making that transition. And I guess that probably partly answers my next question. As a sustainability professional, what values or principles do you find non-negotiable when it comes to creating products that make real impact?
Well, yeah, exactly. That answered your question. Honestly speaking, as an engineer, as a sustainability professional, I believe in innovation. I would say new products or innovative products need to be innovative and adaptable. Well, we need to look into innovation and adaptability. Sustainability challenges are evolving, and innovations and innovative solutions should be as well. But it's not always about the disruptive ideas, the one big idea that will solve everything. Rather, also industry specific or product specific innovative ideas, because companies or businesses are the ones that actually master their product. So they are the one qualified to get these innovation up and running.
So tell us a bit about any personal experience or turning point that sparked your passion for sustainability and how it shaped your journey. Was there a kind of aha moment that made you realize you needed to get your message out there and develop the Sustain&Trend brand?
Well, Sima, it was more of a gradual shift rather than just a single aha moment that actually led me to especially to write online and to start Sustain&Trend. So personally, I'm a person that prefer to write everything down on a paper and a pen. I really love to visualize everything, my thoughts, what I read, what I research, and especially in a multi-dimensional space as sustainability, it proved to be useful. And one day I thought, why not to share this online? I'm sure that there's at least someone out there who have the similar thought or the same question, and then yeah, that was what sparked the starting point of writing online. But if I have to pin one single moment that actually sparked my interest into sustainability, I would say during my first semester studying, I was introduced to the sustainability topic, or the ESG frameworks, and it actually clicked for me. Well, instead of focusing on problems, we need to figure out a solution, and that was the aha moment, that I realized that sustainability provides this answer, or this solution, or the closest to a solution that we have. And from there, I just started diving deeper into the topic. As for why sustainability is my part, what I'm writing about, it's basically my area of expertise, I would say, and I saw a real need for a valuable and actual content. At least I saw that I have something that I can share, I can give out there, and especially in the environmental and in sustainability sphere, scrolling through social media, you need just 60 seconds to feel overwhelmed and depressed. And I thought that, yeah, we need to provide content that actually focus on solutions more than problems.
Yeah, and I certainly found my calling when I came across Sustain&Trend. I was like, finally, someone that can actually take really complex stuff and put it into simple visual solutions. And I think your investment in writing things down over those years has really paid off. And I'm just really pleased that I had you to kickstart this, and hope to be collaborating with you in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, it was my pleasure to be here, Sima, and we'll be looking forward for the upcoming episodes for sure.
Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.